Yes, yeah.
All right. So before going into the details, like AWS DevSecOps is like has more into Linux administration also, because most of the times on AWS DevSecOps or DevOps, we'll be using more Linux-based platforms even while computing and all. So even before going into that, I want to give you a brief description about what DevOps or DevSecOps is. So the thing is, in the previous methodologies of providing a complete software development life cycle, it was like once the developers used to develop, once they got the requirement, and they provide it to the operations team for deploying it to the on-premise servers or wherever they want to, or maybe a turnkey solutions right at the client location. And there used to be a gap between the developers and the operations team, because they never had been providing the whole software as chunks, because they used to get the whole requirement at a complete bunch, and they used to develop and leave the platform for maybe like 1 month, 2 months, and give it to the operations, and then only operations will be going forward to deploy the complete product to the main site and provide it to the client. So what if there is a requirement change quickly that client provides while the development cycle is going on? So if client wants to change it, earlier it was different, that they have to come only again after the complete sprint is completed and they want to change anything in between. But with DevOps integration into this, it's always like providing the whole software to the client in bits and pieces, like small chunks, constituting it to a complete software. Whenever and there is a small change that, or a big change that the client wants to do in between the development lifecycle, also we will be able to directly add it to the requirement. And we will use that agile project methodology to to constitute or to engage in between with the operations, and make sure that what exactly client is looking will be delivered to him only in bits and chunks, not as a complete product. Even the complete product is the final end user which is using, that will also be provided in bits and chunks, but the end user will be only seeing the final product. But whichever changes we are making it to the final product, it will be always provided to them using this continuous integrations and continuous developments that we make over through a complete software development life cycle. And here it's always why I say this is also always a cycle, because even you start, whenever you start the development of of a product, which is, or of a software, or to develop a code, right from that point of time, the operations will also start to develop a operation procedure, how to deploy it to the into the production or a development environment. So there is no gap between the developers and the operations, and this is a continuous life cycle, that we'll have a more number of sprints or working sessions, or we'll use an agile project methodologies, like using Jira tickets or any Zoho tickets, and we will have a continuous setup all through, and we'll make sure that every requirement that raised by the client or the requirement will be automatically delivered to them without any failure or without any gaps. So DevOps is the process of continuously making deployments in a small bits and chunks as the requirement comes up, without there is a downtime at the end user. So that is DevOps for you basically. But what is DevSecOps now? So initially we were not using any securities at the development phase. you know we'll provide the requirement of developers, they come up with the code, we integrate using the operations in the same way, that will be a continuous part. And at the last phase, we will be using some unit test cases to test the code and test the output, and then we will submit it to the client, or who is the end user. But with DevSecOps into place, we are initializing the security right at the point where the development even starts. That's the main motto of converting the whole DevOps into DevSecOps procedure. And how we integrate that security right at the starting is what I'll going to explain you in a further scenarios if we all get to continue in the further sessions now. And also how we shift the complete security to the left. If I say the left, in means right at the start. So earlier there were no code vulnerability checking tools that we are integrating. Now we have everything that we can integrating right at the development point. So now we have to, if we want to deploy it to the end user, we are not testing the product at the end. We are testing the product even right at the development phase using the code vulnerability tools or UAT tools and deployment tools, testing, and also we'll have testing environments. We are not going to give the final environment straight away. We'll have multiple environments like development, staging, and the production sites and on all. So we are starting the security at the level of left side from the left from the first point, and we are ensuring the end user is also securely accessing the platform without any breaches or without any malleable attacks. That's what the whole DevSecOps procedure is. So in this small minute description of DevSecOps, anybody has a question? All right, let me move further then. So but when we say about AWS DevSecOps, again, we can use multiple tools. Why I'm stopping at the point of Ansible is, if somebody already know Ansible is a configuration management tool, we can install this particular AWS configurations in any one of the servers. For example, let us say we have multiple clients, and multiple clients are using all our production software at the same point, and we have an update to be sent to this particular all the clients at one single time. So Ansible is such a tool that it will send your all configuration changes in one go to all the clients without the end environment getting down or having any zero downtime. So that's the beauty of Ansible. And this particular Ansible will also be able to integrate with AWS directly using the AWS providers, or we will install the Ansible in any one of our major server where we want to create our controlling tower. Then using that controlling tower, we'll control all the client environments and push the configuration in within minutes, within seconds, we can do that. That's the beauty of Ansible. And Ansible is just a software configuration management tool. It will only deploy the changes whichever you want to, but it will not provide any highlights or insights how you want to develop or anything. It's an easily software configuration management tool. So this also we will learn. This is a part of DevSecOps as well. Okay, take it as now and moving forward. Yes, the major part, the Docker and Kubernetes. Somebody has asked me already about EKS, right? The Elastic Kubernetes service provided by AWS. We can use EKS, we can use Docker, or we can just create servers and we can install Kubernetes or Docker into the servers directly. And we can spin up as many as containers, as many as clusters we want. So AWS supports it two ways. You can use it on the servers, or you can use it the direct AWS Kubernetes service we already have. And using the Docker networking, we can definitely make sure that we use the EKS service in an automated way. So either you can directly shift from Docker to Kubernetes using the AWS providers, or you can still use both Docker and Kubernetes, wherein Docker can be used to create the containers and Kubernetes will use to orchestrate, to operate those containers, to check those containers, to monitor those containers. Everything we will do using Kubernetes. And this service you can use on the servers. As I said, if you launch any servers on AWS platform, you can install these services as they are only open source platforms, or you can use AWS native service called as Elastic Kubernetes service to orchestrate all the containers that are developed by the Docker. So you can do both ways. AWS provides that flexibility all the time. I think moving forward. So as I said, questions as I answered, we can also use Jenkins CI/CD that is already provided as a tool inside the AWS platform, or we can also install and configure using the AWS EC2 or Visualbox, as I see here. That's always possible. And when we come to Jenkins CI/CD, we will let you know to create a freestyle project, a multiple branch project during the course of the sessions. We'll make sure that you end-to-end deploy a project on your hands, on your platform, which makes you more understanding about the SDLC that we perform using the AWS DevSecOps. And this is a part of the what you call an architectural diagram. We may not need not to go deep into this because this will be covered in the sessions throughout the course. And here also, if you want to use Jenkins CI/CD automation, we will choose either two languages. Either you can use a shell script again, or you can use a script that you have to write in a Groovy language. Do not be worried about learning Groovy language again. There is nothing you need to learn. It's the basic, simple scripting language where we have to directly provide or variables, list of variables, normal names, just like variable name, and use a simple language that for example, the shell scripting language inside the parameters, and just run those pipeline. That's it. It's not really very big as to grow with language, and we are not going to learn the language. I'm sure we are just learning, going to learn how we will use the Groovy language to run this one, right? And again, as I said, that's the most easiest way. That's why I'll not confuse you more with different tools. We can use SonarQube, which is the basic and advanced we have, but for our projects, we'll use the basic level only. Now, as it's like AWS provides you the platform just not to build apps, but also you can administrate everything. For example, let me say it like this. You have a project. For example, you all know, right? I think how you are receiving accesses through your current organizations using the identity access management. So in the same way, you will own an account, but you can create multiple accounts in your same project. You can create multiple accounts in your same account, and you can provide them only required access, so that they cannot delete or they cannot completely terminate the project. So you will be the owner of the project. You have the option to create required level of access to each and every account using the identity access management. You can provide them authentication option or authorization option. So it's different roles we can create through the AWS IAM. There are multiple ways of creating roles, multiple ways of creating permissions, multiple ways of giving out secure permissions, secret keys, secret access keys. There is a lot of information that we will learn while we are accessing the AWS identity access management. This is very much important. This is listed at 7th point, but I would say if you are learning the AWS DevSecOps, the first thing to learn is identity access management. So when I start my sessions, I'll start with Linux and shell scripting for 3 to 4 days, close it off, and I'll start the AWS DevSecOps with IAM only, wherein IAM is the main security parameter that you will involve in all the DevSecOps procedure, right? And these are like basic stuff. What is cloud computing? If you are computing everything on the cloud, that is simple as cloud computing. If you're not using on any physical servers or any on-premise servers, if you're not using your laptop for building anything, then that is called as cloud computing, wherein you will get the resources from cloud providers like AWS, Azure, Google, Oracle. There are plenty of cloud providers now. Close to 20 cloud providers we have at the moment. And going into, we will also learn what are these three parameters, because these three parameters we will automatically go through this, and you will never know that did I perform this kind of services already. That's the beauty of AWS DevSecOps, because we will involve all three things. We will use infrastructure as service, we will use platform as service, which is PaaS, we will use SaaS, which is software as service. To give you just basic examples, for SaaS, they are like Gmail service, Facebook, everything. We are using that software as service, right? These are called SaaS. Platform as service means we can use AWS platform to build our applications, and just use them. We don't need to take any infrastructure from AWS for hosting platform as service options. For example, we have AWS Lambda functions. If you click on use Lambda functions, we are not going to create any infrastructure for us. There are certain services like AWS Lex services. There are AWS Bedrock services, AWS Lightsail services. These are all the platform services that are provided by AWS directly, using which these platforms you can directly host your application. You need not to worry about creating a server, creating an IP address, creating a cloud, creating a subnets, route tables. There is nothing you need to worry about. You just use PaaS and host your application. And when we come to infrastructure as service, yes, you will be that AWS cloud engineer or a DevOps engineer, where you will need to work from scratch to create servers for you, to create a virtual private cloud where you have to keep your servers, to secure your complete environment using web application firewalls. So you will do everything from providing the basement of infrastructure to design the whole pipeline and deploy the whole pipeline as well. So that's what you do when you say about IaaS. That is infrastructure as service. So the content is really huge. If you go through all the courses, we'll be learning all these categories. And as I said, we'll be using EC2, right? EC2 is the place where we will be able to create all the servers which we need for deployment purposes, and we can use bare metal instances. We can use EC2 compute instances. There are multiple tiers, multiple sizes of it. You can use as long, as huge as a 256 GB RAM kind of servers to 1 GB RAM servers, whichever you want, whichever your project needs. We can use all of them. There is nothing you are limited to. Okay, so this is again the architecture point of view. If you are going to use any AWS DevSecOps, the architecture looks like this. So let's say if this is the end user using it, and there is a domain called as some devops.com, and this particular person is going to access it. So when you click on that URL, for example, here it is like sudhirdevops.com, right? When you click on that URL, you will firstly accessing the AWS Route 53 service. Basically, that Route 53 service, that routes this particular URL to a application load balancer. Right, before even going into the application balancer, it has to go through multiple security layers, which is a internet gateway that we attach to our virtual private cloud. Okay, this is a virtual private cloud where your all servers or all your application with multiple tools is being hosted. So this VPC contains all your resources in it, and this VPC is governed by an internet gateway. And over and top of this internet gateway, we can also have a AWS web application firewall also. We can add multiple layers, layers of security to this layer also. So this part is just the architecture diagram. But over and out, we will use the VPC. We will use the Route 53 service. VPC is the place where we create all the resources. Route 53 is where we provide the DNS names, and we will use web application firewalls and internet gateways to allow the traffics to our application. We need not go into these details because we will be getting into these details when we move forward with the sessions. And that should be it for the demo, because if you have any questions or if you want any particular project related or situations you are going at the moment, you can ask me at the moment. So I'll let you know whether I'll be able to teach you all of them or not.